again, everybody. Welcome back to Primetime Muscle, bodybuilding, fitness, physique, bikini fans across the world, wellness. I know there's other divisions I'm missing. Tim Wilkins, as always, joined by the one and only real deal Chris Cormier.
How you doing, brother?
Very well, sir, my friend. How are you? And of course, Tarek El-Guindy.
I am happy to see you. Love the orange tie. Cannot just say the same thing about his outfit, but nice to see you too, Chris.
Well, now I will say, Chris, we talk about our clothes a lot, but apparently our good friend Tarek, you live very close to a place that I lived for a while, the Marine base in Camp Pendleton near San Diego.
Correct.
And they've done an outstanding job on base cutting your hair this week.
Actually,
High and tight.
no.
High and tight.
So yeah, I'm trying to get a nice haircut. My goal is to outdress Chris Cormier and upstage Chris Cormier in every episode. And based on the ratings, I'm doing that. So Chris, you just step back and watch, okay?
Thank you.
You might be the king of the club.
So now you fans have been so nice to share your top three out of this group. I'm glad to make first call out. But we're talking about historically a top five. And when you look at past Mr. Olympias, Ronnie, Dorian, Phil, Jay, Lee Haney, and of course Arnold, one of the groundbreakers of our sport, where do you guys, you fans as well, we want to hear from you, how do you size them up and what would be your top five? I know we've got six up there. One guy's not going to get a medal this year.
Are you talking about influence or just plain physique?
Physique.
But physique.
Here's
Okay.
the tough part, guys. Here's the tough part. You have to do their physiques according to their era, because you put most of these guys up against Arnold from his era, and he would be classic physique if he made weight, compared to the mass monsters of all the way from Lee to Phil and Jay.
Well, I'm going to let Chris lose a few jobs first. Go ahead, Chris.
My number one, my all-time, no matter what, no matter who, no matter what they look like, my all-time is Lee Haney. Lee, totally awesome. Haney is my number one, for sure, for life. No way around it. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, but you have any comments, questions, or rebuttals about that?
I'm going to say this, and it really hurts me to say this. I'm cringing right now.
Why are you cringing?
Because he agrees with you.
I agree with you. Lee Haney he was so dominant when he won those 8 Olympias. He retired early. Nobody really worried about him. If he was the age of social media, like we covered Ronnie and Jay and all those guys, people would go crazy with Lee Haney. He was so good. He was so dominant. There was no flaws to his physique. He changed the game.
Had he gone into his Kamal El-Garni or Dexter Jackson years, how many Olympias, what kind of record would he be holding right now?
Something that's untouchable because, like you say, 32 years old, I believe that he retired. I mean, he still never even hit his prime, and we saw some dynamic physique out of this guy. Not only that, he was a trailblazer. There was no one like him before him. They had other Mr. Olympias, but no one like Lee Haney had that mass on his chest, that back that opened up. I was 1988. I saw him compete in person at the Mr. Olympia and Universal Studios in LA. I was in the last row because I had bought my own ticket, but I'm just telling you, he looked like a man amongst boys up there, and he wasn't even the tallest guy up there, but it looked like everyone else was about 3 feet smaller than him, and he was just taking up the stage.
So we've established our first place. Second place, yeah, buddy, who's that going to be?
So I'm not going to go with Ronnie Coleman.
Okay.
I'm not going to go with Ronnie Coleman in second place. Surprising. All the haters, my Instagram is TK Guindy. My second most impressive bodybuilder is Phil Heath. Phil Heath was magical. And I'll tell you why. I think Phil Heath muscle bellies was something that we had never, ever seen before. His three-dimensional look was unprecedented. He was incredible in terms of muscle bellies, roundness. You got to give him credit to his conditioning. And he competed against great competition. He had to battle it out with Kai Green, Jay Cutler, Dexter Jackson, Dennis Wolf, Branch Warren. He battled it out, and he was overtaken in the end because of injury. Right? Injury. I think he had a few more years, but injury came after him, just like Jay, just like Dorian, just like Ronnie. But his three-dimensional look, I had a chance to watch it in person, was unprecedented.
All right, second place.
I'm going Dorian. Because being there, I'm just talking about, I've watched all these guys compete. Just being there in 90, I mean, he went against Lee Haney, which is, that was a battle in 91 in Orlando. But coming back, he won, I believe it was in Helsinki after that. He was the most leanest he ever been. But to come back in 1993 and that shock and awe of being in the audience and like contemplating, is this the sport for me? You know, being a new pro at the time, I won the USA, but now here I'm in Atlanta, and Dorian walks out. You hear all the hooligans in the back blowing the horns and screaming.
Oi!
And then the way he opened up his back, the density of his body, all over his body, the impact it made. I mean, he just jetted out. It's like untouchable.
I think that was one of the first years I ever heard the phrase barn door lats, when it was like somebody had opened up two barn doors.
Yeah, and I had the pleasure of competing against him the very next year in that same arena.
Third that year or second?
I was sixth. My first year as Olympian, I was sixth as a rookie. And I was right behind him. I was between him and Sean Ray. So I'm like, okay, this is my first Olympia. I actually wore his shoes backstage because we had the same shoes. So I said, people were like, Dorian's looking for you. I'm like, oh shit, Dorian's looking for me. Like, so I had his shoes on. So but walking up the stairs behind him as we were going, filing out onto the stage, it was lights out. It was like, it went light, darker, 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 to where I couldn't see no more light. And that was just because I was walking behind him. I got to give it to him because of the sheer impact he made when he posed. It was just like, he just toyed with people. And he was just too far ahead. I just didn't see that with the other competitors. But, you know, Ronnie, he came out and did his thing. But I'm just talking about when you start bodybuilding, when you hit the pro stage. I know he lost to Momo Benaziza in the Night of Champions, but then the impact he made, the impact Lee made also, it's just, you can't, it's not the same thing.
Well, impact-wise, of course, it's Arnold at the top of this list. But third, fourth, fifth.
Third, I'm going to say this. In third place, I put Ronnie Coleman, obviously a phenomenal champion. In my opinion, his first years were better. 1998, 1999 Arnold Classic, many people believe was his best look. The waist was still tight, you know, and people love the 2003 look. I get it, it's massive. But I loved his earlier years as a Mr. Olympia. That's why I put him in third. In fourth, I would go with Dorian Yates. I grew up with watching Dorian Yates and that backlat spread and the massive calves and his conditioning was on point. 1993 was shocking to the world. And I'm going to go in fifth place, Jay Cutler. And I also like to mention that Jay, when he won the Arnold Classic, when he won the Ironman those years, he looked incredible. 2021 at the Olympia, he looked incredible. Jay took second to Arnold, to Ronnie Coleman many years. Jay was a phenomenal bodybuilder for a decade, and people forget about it because he took second. But if Ronnie wasn't there, we're talking about Jay winning 7, 8, 9 Mr. Olympias. And then it's crazy to say this, but I'm leaving Arnold in sixth place physically, Arnold was not as good as these guys. You know, his waist was not the smallest. He had legs that could have been bigger. And so, yeah, I'm very simple. Lee Haney, Phil Heath, Ronnie Coleman, Dorian Yates, Jay Cutler.
Chris, 4 and 5. Where do you put them?
I'm gonna put Jay in front of Phil, so I got Jay next, and I would say, you know, going against Jay personally. I mean, I know he was a great competitor, a fellow Leo like myself, so he has a lot of heart, and yeah,
Oh, that's cute. You guys know each other's sign.
all Leos know Leos.
That's cute. Chris.
Leos know real Leos. Is that right, my Leos out there? All right. So, yeah, we have a special thing
Bond,
about us.
yeah. You locked eyes with Flex Wheeler. You read their horoscope with Jay Cutler. You're so nice, Chris. I love you.
Thank you. Well, I love you too, Derek.
Can we bring some donuts for him?
All right, that's a fascinating look back at the history of the best, and we've got more looks into the history and the future when we come back on Primetime Hustle.
Lock eyes.
People always ask how I got here. I was willing to work just a little harder than everyone else. Every damn day. If I can have hundreds of hours back, you know I'm gonna grab them. Spending hours prepping chicken, rice, and vegetables, F that. I rely on perfect nutrition. I rely on Trifecta.
All right, we're back with more Primetime Muscle. Tarek and Chris have finished locking eyes and exchanged information about each other's birthdays. So now we're going to talk about something you know well. We're talking about Breon. Right. And every year when I see him guest posing, I see him in various places, I think, how is this guy going to make weight for Classic Physique? And now the question is, would it be just easier to move him to 212?
Well, Tim, in my opinion, it's easier to go to 212. I mean, I've been watching him battle down from 215 to, you know, he's been 220 something at one point, but 215, I mean, people think that he's been a competitor that's been competing for a long time, but it hasn't been that long. So he started late. So I understand how people might think, okay, the age difference, he's starting to, you know, get up there in age a little bit, and that this should be like, I don't feel like this is the end of the road for him. I feel like this is going to be a new birth in the competitional phase of his career, to where just use your body. You can't. He's in shape at 190 pounds, but he still needs 10 pounds down from there to make the weight. So
what quality is he losing dropping down that extra 10 pounds?
Muscle.
But are you watching it? Is it happening in front of your face?
I'm watching it, but he's not bodybuilding right now. He's cannibalizing his body to get down to the weight, and then he competes and only has a short time to try to refuel that body. So you got one day, sometimes a day and a half max, but the way they set up the weigh-ins is not the way you can utilize the most your physique. So some of these guys going against a 20-some years old, those guys can eat a Snicker bar and blow up and into the, they're carved up already. But him, it takes a little bit more time in order to, get the body back. But like I said, if you come up 2 or 3 pounds, sometimes you don't gain that much weight at all going, after he carbs up. So if you're gonna go 212 would be my ideal for his physique. He wants to do it one more time at Classic and then proceed. But I mean, you don't always have tomorrow. That's what I always say. You don't know, what tomorrow brings. So I would do it now while the fire's hot and the body's full, and you can utilize your physique and compete.
Well, let's look at some pictures. You talk about what it takes to really put that size back on after weigh-ins. For some guys, it's just a nice McDonald's breakfast. You just call DoorDash, and other guys don't have the luxury of having that breakfast.
No, yeah, that's true.
So talk to us, Tarek. Talk to us about Breon staying a little bit bigger and not cannibalizing what he's got.
I hate to hear this, that a guy is losing muscle as he prepares to do a bodybuilding show.
Yeah.
And here's my thing. He has the champion pedigree. Let's look back at the history of Breon Ansley. Turned pro at the 2014 Mr. USA's. A week before that, he was a light heavy at the LA Championships. If I'm not mistaken, he was wearing yellow trunks on that day. He sucked down.
Wow.
He sucked down
To
middleweight, and then turned pro at the USA. So he was light heavy at LA Championships 1 week before the USA, sucked down to middleweight, and won his pro card. He has competed in the 212, but I think right now he's a different bodybuilder. I'm going to go as far as to say that Breon Ansley has the ability to become the 212 champion. He has the champion pedigree. He knows what it takes to win. And I'm also going to say that if he's catabolizing muscle before going into a competition, then he needs to go to the 212. His back double biceps, in my opinion, is one of the best. He's got a lot of meat on that back double biceps, and Chris can go on his back double biceps for days on that. He hasn't slept since that 2019 Mr. Olympia. But that back double biceps is incredible. He's a great poser, and I think he should go to the 212. If I'm not mistaken, he's doing Classic this year, and then he's converting to the 212. Look, I mean, what is the challenge of him going to the 212? Size? Derek Lunsford is out of there.
Derek Lunsford's out, yeah.
You know, Kamal is not a mass monster in the 212. And then he's got to be dealing with Sean Clarita. I think he can outmass Sean Clarita, and then it would be a battle right there. So I think he can go to the 212 and he can win there.
Well, Kamal is set for a Masters title at some point because he's 52 this year, I think. And Clarita, I think Breon's got such better lines because, you know, Sean is so compact.
Yes, he's definitely a smaller competitor than him, but Breon here, as you see the quad separation and all these things would be amplified. It's going to be like the peaks of the bicep. I just seen him do it so many times that I feel like this is the class for him is the 212. Now, when he turned pro, he was 176 pounds as a middleweight. He was only able to get up to 180 in all these years. That's
Because he held himself back?
Because he has to make the weight for the Classic. It's only 4 pounds different from when he turned pro. Now, when you're getting older, you know, your body wants to grow. It wants to. You've been putting in a lot of reps since that time, so you're cannibalizing a lot of muscle.
Breon Ansley is one of the best bodybuilders we have nowadays. You look at all the categories, all the Mayo categories, and Breon Ansley is one of the best. His back double biceps, that back double biceps is incredible. He has the conditioning. Look at that vacuum. Look at those arms on the front double bicep. He's a great poser. Breon Ansley will be awesome in any category. This is one of the best bodybuilders we have. I agree with Chris. I think he should go to the 212. And if Chris cranks the hammer on him, this guy could be the first one to win Mr. Olympia in the Classic Physique and Mr. Olympia in the 212. He can make history.
Now, we've got another, you talk about youth, we got another young gun coming up. It's got a beautiful physique that we're talking about moving from 212 or Classic to Open. Urs Kalasinski.
Yeah.
So Urs Kalasinski, and this is just a beautiful physique, has such a different, I'm wondering how much he's going to have to pack on to compete with the other guys.
Is that a thing? Is he really trying to go to the Open now? Is that
Derek?
Well, Chris.
Or is that just...
Chris, after the 2021 Classic Physique, he placed fourth. Right. And then he went on to the Arnold and he placed fourth again. Some guys like Ramon Dino surpassed him.
Right.
He's the guy who has the ability to have more weight on his frame. He's about 10, 15 pounds under his Classic Physique height. Now, one of the things about him is, not only can he be a Classic because he's tall, if he fills up, we're talking about a Dennis Wolf type of guy. So, and he's 24, 25 years old. Why wouldn't he not grow? I hate to hear this, that Chris is saying, well, Breon has been catabolizing his weight, his muscle tissue. This is bodybuilding. If you get bigger, you need to allow your body to grow and you need to move up the class. I mean, look at the guys that were 212 and now are making some good money. William Bonac, Hadi Choopan, Derek is going to the Open. If your body grows, let's go with it.
I've always been, it's a little point of professional jealousy for me. I've always been the broadcaster / MC, when I see a professional, and it's a lot of women that start off in figure, then you see them in physique, then they go to bodybuilding because they outgrow the class. I'm jealous. You can put on that kind of mass, move into the class that can hold you. Don't hold yourself back.
Exactly.
Yeah, and Urs, he's a fantastic competitor, great guy. I've gotten to know him a little bit also, and if he can put the mass on, it's just that, man, he has that front lat spread. He has those different body parts that's just amazing. The quad, the striated glutes, the deep hamstrings, they're just awesome. And I feel like, he's one that if he can move up, man, he's very young. That's the thing. His body's going to develop more so. He's under 25 years old. So that being said, he's going to.
Let me just add this. One thing I tell competitors all the time: don't pick the category. Let the category pick your body. Angelica Teixeira won the Bikini Olympia twice. She started her career in figure. LaToya Watts, she won the figure Miss Olympia. She started her career in bikini. Chris Bumstead started his career in bodybuilding, just like Breon Ansley, and they both went on to win the classic physique. Do not worry about any of this labeling. Just let the category pick your body. Don't pick the category yourself.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens should he move up. And, of course, with Derek out of the 212s, that really opens it up for him. We've got lots more to discuss when we come back after this break on Primetime Muscle. And we're back talking about bikini this time, and it is going to be a stacked Olympia this year. Ashley Kaltwasser, who a lot of times shows up at shows to pick up a check, so it would seem. Issa Pacini, a former Olympia. Janet Liu, a former Olympian. And then you've got others that have had a stellar year, like Maureen Blanquisco. What are we looking at, the past? And so we've seen shows that are stacked with Olympians, former bikini Olympians. What are we looking at this year?
We're looking at, again, one of the deepest lineups. Bikini is one of the hardest class to judge a show. And when you go to the Olympia and you sit there, and one is more perfect than the other, it's just like, you just see, oh, okay, this is Miss Olympia this year. And then you see the next girl go, no, my God, this one is better. And then you see the other one, I can't believe this one is better. These women are incredible competitors.
You've said over the years it could be 1 point, like with Laura Lee Chapados and Jennifer Dory,
Issa Pacini, Janet Liu. It's 1 point decision. They're so close to each other. The talk is Jennifer Dory against Laura Lee Chapados. But if you look at the history of the category, the placings have been very fluid. So whoever places second sometimes drops. Sometimes whoever placed fifth. Issa Pacini went from winning to placing sixth just because she was a little bit too muscular in the bikini. Do I think Ashley Kaltwasser has the chance to regain her title and be a four-time? Yes, absolutely. She had a few times this year where she displayed a physique that was undeniable. And it was in Washington, the Sasquatch Pro by Michelle Mayberry and Chris Algier, where she showed her best physique. Sandy Williamson was judging that show, and I had an opportunity to look at the pictures. Janet competed this year. She looked incredible, but I think she should be competing a little bit more to get her body back on track. When Janet won, it was unanimous decision. She came in and she shocked us. It was 2020 and she was unbelievable. Isa Pecini is a mystery right now because she might be the most genetically gifted bikini competitor we've ever seen with the smallest waist, but she's really mysterious because having a small waist in bikini is in any category is a gift. But if you gain a little bit of muscle more than the criteria, then that small waist makes you look like figure.
She shows a lot of pictures on social media where she's just shredded too. And you take away from that on the scoring with the points.
Which happened to her in 2020. She was way too muscular. That V-taper was way too emphatic. And she went from first to sixth place. Maureen Blanquisco is so charming on stage, genetically gifted, and she's on the rise. And then you put Jennifer Dory and Lorelee Chapados. Man, put the camera on me right now. This bikini 2022 Mr. Olympia is going to be, I'm looking at the screen instead of looking at the camera. This 2022 Bikini Olympia is going to be as competitive as the Mr. Olympia. We're talking about Jennifer Dory, Lorelee Chapados, Isa Pecini, Ashley Kowalser, Janet Leigh, and Maureen Blanquisco. This is a battle for the ages.
Chris, you follow this part of the sport?
I do follow this part of the sport, more so lately. But yeah, Ashley, she's been a perennial champion. She's won, almost every show on the planet. So you can always count on her to be in one of the top competitors. Janet, I'd like to see a little bit more muscle. Just a little bit more muscle in her frame. I think that would be great for her. And I think for the most part, Isa, if she's, she's got to be more artistically put together. When you're putting together a show, and when you put together your competitional look, you got to keep all these things, artistically put together. You got to keep all these things in mind when you're training. It's not just because it's Thursday. If you got to lay off a muscle group or something like that, I think that's what you got to have in order so you can place well in this category.
Now, I just rewatched an episode of Olympia TV you did a while back with Jennifer Dory, and you watched her training, you talked to her about, and you also said between her and Lorelee, who you met with in Florida, off season they looked amazing, probably the best either one of them has ever looked.
Yeah, they're incredible competitors, and they lift weights with aggression. We think of the bikini competitors, they're gorgeous girls on stage, but when you see them at the gym, these are fierce competitors. They lift heavy weights, and it's quite intimidating because some of the other women that have never seen women work out this hard, that you can see as you're filming, women are like, I can't believe they're lifting that much weight. The bikini category is very hard to coach. I give a lot of credit to the coaches because if you overdevelop your shoulder, it can take away your entire balance. If you open your lat a little bit because you want to make your waist small, you can take away your balance. So you're talking about precision. That's the name of the game in bikini. That's why we've had 1-point decisions. When Isa Pecini beat Janet Leigh, 1-point decision. Jennifer Dory, Lorelee Chapados, 1-point decision. This game in the bikini category is precision. And at the Olympia, when you're talking about this top 6, you're talking about 6 of the great competitors in the world.
Chris? 6 of the great competitors.
6 of the best, like you say, it's hard to judge them because they all look dead on, like twinsies up there sometimes. And sometimes you get all the same color bikinis on, like 5 or 6 of them. And they look like twinsies out there. But if you feel like, if you can bring the best of the best together, that's going to be knockdown, drag out.
It's funny you should say that because a while back I looked at Janet Leigh's show, The Battle of the Bodies in Fort Lauderdale, and every bikini competitor looked like they had a blue suit on. They've got the same tan from Pro Tan, and then of course they've got a lot of them have the same black hair, the same dark hair, a lot of them have gone with the Jennifer Dory ringlets. So they are. India Paulino won that show, by the way, so she qualified. Well, I'm excited to see her this year. She's been inching her way up. Second, third, and now first.
I have no idea what India Paulino is doing, but every time I look at her picture, she looks 2 years younger. So, I mean, she's like incredible.
Genetics.
I'm like, I send a message to her coach. I'm like, how can this woman be looking younger and younger every year? And her physique is looking better and better. That's another one that can go in there and shock the world. She's an incredible competitor. She's won many titles. She has the champion pedigree, and I think she could be in the battle.
Well, it is going to be an interesting one, like you say, with having 6 or 7 or 8 of the best, looking kind of like twinsies, looking very, very similar in perfection, trying to find those minute differences between them. That's going to be a task. The fans love bikini. The competitors, we have a lot of you pros tuning into this show, and we appreciate that greatly. Thank you for that. And so many pros have those huge fan bases for bikini and wellness are two of the biggest. That and classic, huge fan bases.
Tim, I get to judge the amateur divisions. I get to judge the true novice, the novice, and the open in the bikini. I get to see these girls going and qualifying for the USA's, the Nationals, North Americans universe. It's so, there's no other word, so cool to see someone coming in, the true novice, competing for the first time, improving their conditioning, improving their posing. They go into the open, they get a top 5, then they try the USAs, then they try the Nationals. It takes them 2 years to turn pro, and then they turn pro, and they go right back to the line, and they place 16th in the pro show, and then they become these idols, right? I remember some of these competitors that turned pro, they were amateurs, and now they go on stage and people take pictures of them because they become idols. Ashley Cole Wasser, she's backstage sometimes at some of the amateur shows, and there's so many of these girls say, man, I just can't believe I'm competing and Ashley's here. It's cool to see that.
That is very cool. Well, and you can see all that. Chris, always great to see you.
Always good to see you too.
Tarek, you're going to be traveling the world between now and our next episode, and
I am judging everywhere in the world. It's a great pleasure. I know Chris wants to travel with me. Yes. I'm considering. A lot of people are calling me and advising me against it. But I like Chris. We'll see what happens.
Well, we're going to see what happens with their travels when all those travels collide. December 15th through the 18th at the Olympia, at that very incredible weekend. All the divisions will be there represented, duking it out for those big titles. As always, like, share, follow the show, tell your friends. And we look forward to having you back here every Friday, and we look forward to seeing you at the Olympia. I'm Tim Wilkins. We'll see you next time on Primetime Muscle.